those of Flagler Broadcasting staff, management, or advertisers.
This is Pierre Tristram, editor of Flagler Live, with your weekly reality check. Let's examine why Saudi Arabia's Wahhabist clerics are sizzling with anticipation over the U.S. Supreme Court's 6-3 ruling by June that using public money to fund religious madrasas is perfectly fine. The court took on the case last week from Oklahoma, where an online Catholic school, St. Isidore of Seville, but really more of 7501 Northwest Expressway, Oklahoma City, across from Home Depot, sued after it was denied a charter and tax dollars. The outcome is foretold on this court. 6 of the Supreme Court justices are Catholic, 5 of them nominated by Republicans sent by God. So in the holy hands of our College of Cardinals, shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion becomes shall allow no law preventing a preference for religion, preferably Christian. Wahhabism, interchangeably identified with Salafism, is the state religion in Saudi Arabia. Its most familiar approximation to anything Christians might know is the terror regime of the Catholic Church's medieval period. Wahhabism, or Salafism, is the most puritanical, uncompromising, discriminatory, and violent form of Sunni or any Islam, and it has about as many echoes in the Quran as a clucking chicken in Azerbaijan does in the Grand Canyon. Wahhabism gives women third-class status, executes gays, adulterers, and apostates, and gave us Osama bin Laden, Sheikh Omar, and Abu Yusuf, the ISIS leader who never managed his 15 minutes of fame because his mass murders were not televised. So Wahhabism today is closest to the doctrines of the Taliban and ISIS. Since the 1970s, and with the direct support of the Saudi regime, Wahhabis launched a splurge of madrasa building across the globe, including in the United States. Culver City, California was famous for a Wahhabi school attached to the still active King Fahd Mosque, named for the Saudi king who ruled and consorted with every American president from Reagan to the second Bush. Private religious schools have a longer tradition than public schools in the United States. Nothing wrong with that. It's how Harvard started. Countless little Harvards, Muslim ones among them, dot the land, their quality of education often superior to anything public and undiminished by whatever religious imprint drives the curriculum. I was raised by Jesuits. Their violence, perversion, and doctrinal absurdities aside, they did a pretty good job. We would not want a land without religious schools. But should your tax dollars and mine be paying for any of it? Should we have tax dollars paying for the regressive indoctrination of the Wahhabi charter schools Saudi Arabia's regime will relish funding at taxpayers' expense? Should we open a door to state-funded extremism? We would not be having this debate if the organization seeking public money in Oklahoma were the Satanic Temple's Florida chapter looking to open Dante's Inferno Academy for underprivileged devils right next to City Repertory Theater at City Marketplace. But here we are. St. Isidore is merely Catholic, and Christianity has become a sort of halfway state religion, in practice if not in law. Might as well bridge the gap. By the end of June, when the Supreme Court rules on this case, it will do exactly that. And what remains of that once sturdy and noble wall between church and state will be blown away as by a Salafist's improvised explosive device. This is Pierre Tristram, editor of Flagler Live, your 24-hour online news source. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Pierre. Free for All Friday, where everybody gets a voice, whether we agree. Well, we pretty much like everybody, don't we, Brian?
We love everyone.
I do.
We love all our neighbors.
There's everybody. I like everybody in this town except for one person.
Who's that?
I'm not telling you.
So if we're all walking around, we might be that one person. You never know.
No. Nobody in this room. Barbara Grossman. We love Barbara Grossman. Back for Free for All again. Good to have you back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Does everybody love Barbara Grossman in town? You're the code compliance officer.
I'm sure not, but I hope so.
All right. We're going to find out about you and our special guest here since the election, Ty Miller, our Palm Coast City Councilman. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So we're going to talk about current events, things that are going on right now. And a lot of these cross over into your department, Barbara. And, a lot of people see the city as this, big bad machine. And they, go out and harass the citizens that didn't take their garbage cans in or have their truck in the parking lot and it should in their driveway and shouldn't be and everything. So let's get to know the real Barbara Gross, because your job is to enforce the ordinances, right?
That's correct.
So just tell us a little about you. First of all, how did you get into this? Where'd you come from?
I was originally in the Department of Defense, and I came in from overseas, and we moved into Palm Coast in 1992. We built our house in 1988. In 1993, ITT pulled out. I went to work for the Palm Coast Community Service Corporation for 13 years. I merged with the city of Palm Coast in 2005, and I've been with the city of Palm Coast for 20 years.
Okay, well, gee whiz. So you've seen it all.
I'm giving my age.
Been in it all there. Code compliance, of course, right now, the city council, Ty and the rest of the gang there are talking about maybe possibly changing some ordinances and some codes. And right off the top were things. Ty, how did it come up that even consider changing some of these ordinances that, like what color can you paint your house and can you park your work truck in the driveway? How did it all come about?
Well, I think the color issue specifically was raised by former council member Hyder at a previous council meeting. So that was brought
in June, I think.
Yeah,
it's a while ago.
So it was brought to council now as a presentation. So that's how we started that discussion. I believe the commercial work truck issue was something that we had discussed kind of in unscheduled time at the end of a council meeting recently. So that's fairly new, and I know it's not new. It's been brought up many times before, but fairly new for this council.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, like I say, Palm Coast is a city of high standards. I was Chamber of Commerce president of a city that didn't have real high standards. Zephyr Hills. I love Zephyr Hills.
Familiar. I'm from Pasco County, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I was the chamber president and way back when and ran the radio station there. And but it was mobile homes. Mm-hmm. It was a trailer park town and not in a bad way. Yeah. But compared to that, with Palm Coast, when I first came here 15 years ago, everything seems clean and neat and tidy and just has a good feel to it. Like it's a community of high standards. And I think a lot of the ordinances is what keep it that way. So what are some rules and laws that people break that maybe not know they're breaking, Barbara?
I think some of the things that happen are, when you have trash cans. We'll use trash cans as an example. Originally, trash cans was an ordinance that said trash cans must not be able to be viewed from public view. So we had an incident where the person had their trash cans out behind a bush, and the gentleman next door said, "I can still see the trash can." They moved the trash can to the backyard. They still can see the trash can. So, of course, the way the ordinance was read, it's public view. So the definition of public view came into controversy. So the ordinance was changed to be able to say in view of the right-of-way, so that a person that would have a shrub could put their put the trash can behind the shrub, and the officer that's seeing it is looking in front of the right-of-way, and the trash can is fine.
I thought that because I've seen some creative ways to comply with that code to have your trash can. Like you also have to have something in front of your air conditioner on the side of your house, right?
To shield, yes.
Yeah. So I've seen like you drive by, you can see sometimes there's like a little fence. We have a little white, lattice fence that we bought to do that. But I've seen like a potted plant that is not exactly covering it, but it seems like it's there to say like, yeah, I got a plant in front of my air conditioner.
Right.
Does that count?
It can. It depends on the size of the plant. That could be an issue. I mean, my air conditioning.
I think we should send an inspector out. What's your address, Brian?
Exactly. Actually, my shrubbery is from 1988, and it still shields my air conditioning unit. So, yes, people can be creative, and we again, try to give them ideas. And to give them courtesy notices to be able to get them to understand. Now, in some cases, in all fairness, they can't plant shrubs. They can't put the fence up there. They have a concrete slab. Mm-hmm. So they may have to use a potted plant or 2 or 3. But the idea is to have them, they may start out, it's just like a single-family dwelling. When you do your landscaping, it's a 3-foot on center, 3-gallon in size. They're not very large, but they potentially do get large.
Well, now say I live next door to Brian, and
I'm glad you don't.
Yeah.
Based on what you're about to say.
and I'm like, that really bothers me that you got that stupid plant in front of your air conditioning system.
I have a fence.
I can still see it. So if I want to file a complaint against Brian for that, do I have to divulge that it would be me?
Yes, you would. Governor DeSantis signed into law that I think it was 2021, that you must give your name and your address unless it's an imminent threat. If it were an imminent threat, then you could be anonymous, but there is no more being anonymous. You must give your name and address.
So I can make a public records request for every time David Ayers has called code enforcement on me?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
Don't do that.
Why would I not want to?
So garbage cans, and you have so you take them out to the road, and then you have a certain amount of time to hide them, right?
Yes, you can put your trash out 6 o'clock the night before, and then bring them in the next day by 6.
Okay, well, that seems reasonable. So what other garbage cans, what other codes might people not be aware of?
Accumulations, that could be a good one. You want to put everything on the side of the house. Some people don't mind looking at it. Other people do, and if it's there for a short period of time, if you're doing some kind of construction work or you're doing some type of maintenance, you have 30 bags of mulch on the side of the house, but if it stays there for a year, I don't think you're doing any landscaping work. So then it becomes a nuisance. So nuisances can be a problem, accumulations, overgrown conditions, like I said, the trash cans, unkept houses. And understand, we have both a notice of violation and a notice of remedy. Notice of remedies are normally unoccupied homes. So when we get to the season where it's summertime and the lawns grow and we have unoccupied homes, we write a notice of violation. And then we have contractors, and once we give due process and they don't get into compliance, then we have a contractor that comes out and mows the lawn. So the perception is we're keeping Palm Coast beautiful. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then it goes at the end of the year on the tax roll.
What about yard decorations? To some people, this is just beautiful. Plastic pink flamingos in the front yard, or, it's all Florida and the chrome ball on the pedestal and the lady bent over weeding with her butt sticking out to the road. And
hilarious.
Well,
are those?
Love it.
Well, that becomes freedom of speech. I don't control your Christmas lights being on the house. I don't control your, mezuzah on the side of the door. I don't control any of that. That is allowed. If it becomes in disrepair, then it can be a nuisance. But as far as you being able to put what you want to put out in your yard is freedom of speech.
Well, apparently there must not be much regulation on the Christmas lights, because some people have just light up the whole neighborhood. I don't know if people ever call on. That's too bright. It's out of control.
If it is too bright, light issues do come up. We would send a letter out, but we do have people that like to light up their house like Fort Knox because they're nervous. Mm-hmm. And as long as they can shade their lighting to their area and not bleed over into the neighbor's area, then it's fine. They're going to light up. But if some people in their lanais, in their pool areas, they put up lights. They don't call them Christmas lights. They're party lights. Mm-hmm. For, whatever. It's my anniversary. I want to put lights up. So we don't address them unless they're causing a nuisance to the adjoining neighbors.
Don't irritate your neighbor. What other ones? Okay, garbage cans, what else?
Well, we do get commercial vehicles. That is an issue. A big issue is parking in the swale. And
let's go back to the commercial vehicle, because we're going to be talking about that with Ty here. I think it may be coming up. What is the definition of that? What does the law state like? What can you and can't you have as far as a truck in your driveway?
You can have a truck in your driveway. It can exceed a certain limitation. You can have 3 square foot per side. You can't, if you were to have a van and you were, say I had a painting business. As long as my signage on my van was 3 square feet or less, and I didn't have the ladders on the ladder racks, then it would be feasible.
Just for reference, the 3 square feet is about the size of a typical political yard sign, right? That's 18 by 24.
Yeah,
that's pretty
little
good size.
door magnet, basically.
Yes.
On your.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically.
So a magnet smaller than that, 2 by 2, would be fine. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, you can't do 2 by 2 because that would be 4 square feet.
That'd be 4 square feet. So you have to do the 1 by 3.
It's that small, yeah.
Right.
All right.
And then
thanks, Brian.
Nice try.
1.5 by 1.5 or whatever.
Just trying to squeeze one through there. Huh?
Get your WNZF magnet off your truck.
Yeah, I know. I might have been in violation. Okay, what else?
If you were to have, we don't allow box trucks. Box trucks is a commercial vehicle. That's excluded. Utility trailers, they're excluded. Now, please be reminded that if you are having a service done on your property, then it can be there. But if you're not doing, you also could be a owner of the utility vehicle and you're doing work inside your house that doesn't require a permit. If they were cited because we don't know that they're doing something, they would then contact the city of Palm Coast Code Enforcement, explain that they're doing, I'm tearing out the tile on my floor, I'm refurbishing my cabinets, something like that. Then that's feasible. It can be there.
What if somebody's doing that work overnight, like they're working on the tile at midnight and they've got their truck in the driveway? Is that technically, like, is there a time frame where you can't have a truck in the driveway?
Well, if you're
Or
working,
if it's a service call, then it's exempt no matter what.
If it's a service call, exempt. But now I do have officers that start at 2:00 in the morning on Thursdays and Fridays. So if they were out looking for swales and they're also out there doing commercial vehicle re-inspections and they see it there at 12 midnight, they're probably going to write it. Or 2 in the morning.
So what do the code enforcement officers do at 2 a.m.? I mean, are they looking like at swale violations? Or?
Yes, and then what happens is they are actually taking a photo of the cars in the swales. They're actually going on a website that able to give us the information concerning the tag. And then once they get back to the office, we do not post at 2:00 in the morning. That's an accident waiting to happen. And then it's mailed out the next day, both certified and regular mail.
So is that a proactive approach, the swale parking? How many of these are proactive versus reactive, just based on calls that come in?
Last year there were, out of 21,573 were actually proactive. So that's overall. That's not just swale.
21,000 were proactive, meaning
no, 21,000 were actually called in, but of those 21,000, 273 were actually self-initiated. So that's proactive.
Self-initiated, meaning by the code enforcement officer?
That's correct.
500?
5,000.
5,000, okay.
273.
That'd be a fun job at 2 a.m, drive around looking for.
But that's overall, though. But it is. But understand, there's a function to the swale. It is the storm drainage system.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why we don't want you parking in the swale.
Okay.
Does parking in the swale impede the water? I mean,
Well,
it's usually like one tire kind of on the grass. Is that enough?
That is not one tire on the grass. Normally, it's 4 tires on the grass. It's
So
not in the road.
if it's 2 tires on the grass, parallel to the swale, would they still get cited for that?
Yes, and the reason why is what happens if we have 4 inches of rain and you have 2 tires on the swale and they rut it? Is the water going to flow? Some cases, no.
It doesn't seem like that would really cause a problem with stormwater drainage, but
Well, let me ask you this. What about sprinklers? All right. Do they also drive around saying if somebody has their sprinklers on the wrong day?
Only if it's called into us would we check it.
Okay.
Because of course that is somebody calling in, it's an action order. So of course, now what we're going to have to do because of the odd and the even and the days that it is and the daylight saving time, is it one day, is it two days a week? So then we would have to investigate it. We investigate it. If we don't see anything, then we close the case.
So is the parking on the swale, is that seen as more of it's seen as like a public safety utility issue, or is it more of like we want the streets to look nice and tidy without a bunch of cars parked on the side of the road?
No, it's a public and safety and also for the storm drainage system. That's, and you'd be surprised at how many people do contact us for parking in the swale. The other thing that happens is when people park in the swale, the other person trying to back out has an issue being able to get out.
Yeah, that is annoying.
I've had that across from my driveway, and it's definitely difficult.
So there are different avenues as to why people call in for the swale parking.
Yard sales, garage sales. What's the law on that? 2
per year, and you must register them, and your signage can't be in the right of way.
And how far?
And we also have where you can go online to our website, and once you've registered, it'll show every yard sale and where the location is.
So if I have a yard sale, is there anywhere that I could plant a sign so the neighborhood knows besides in my own yard?
Sure. You can address your neighbors. Say, for instance, if you're going to have a yard sale at Cochise Court, you can come in and you have to come in.
Do you know of one being planned at Cochise Court?
No, I'm just using.
Just curious.
No.
I didn't know if you were advertising your own yard sale right now.
No, I don't do yard sales. Thank you. No, but you could say to the person that lives on the corner of Palm Harbor Parkway and Cimarron, could I please place a sign?
Go get permission.
Yes.
From
what you
somebody.
want to do is get permission. You want to keep it out of the right of way.
It's very interesting considering I live on a corner and I've never been approached yet.
Have you ever had someone plant a yard sale sign in your yard?
Fairly often, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
And you allow that, Ty?
Can't believe it, right?
What about
usually they're gone within a day.
So what about Ty's political signs? What are the laws on political signs?
In the right-of-way, they have 15 days after the election is over to have them removed.
But they can put them up in any right-of-ways?
No, they cannot put them in right-of-ways. We normally put out in the packet when they go out to solicit for their nominations, they would be told that they can't put it in the right of way. We've also met with the Board of Realtors along with meeting with other people concerning right of ways, and we even have a brochure that we put out, and it's also on the website that shows you what the definition of a right of way is. So the idea is that you keep them out of the right of way, and there's safety issues there with signage too. I mean, when you have a big 4x6 sign that's in a right-of-way and somebody comes with their car and hits it, there's an issue, and then what happens is the next thing is at every corner there's an abundance of signs.
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed that happening.
Yes.
What about flags? Like, can I put a flagpole up and fly my Canadian? I'm not going to fly a Canadian flag, but I mean, if I'm from Canada, so can you put up flagpoles?
Yes, you may put up flagpoles, and don't quote me, but I think it's three flags per pole.
And what is there any restriction on what flag?
As per the Supreme Court, I don't look at the content of flags of signage. I look at the location of signage and quantity.
Do you have to get a permit to install a flagpole?
No, you do not.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Made it.
Okay.
You scared me. I thought maybe I was in violation.
So, Ty, have you violated any ordinances in Palm Coast in your time here?
I'm sure
you can plead the Fifth Amendment. I think
sure
on
I
this
have.
show it's allowed.
What are some other, like boats and RVs and all that stuff?
Yes. With boats, recreational vehicles, recreational vehicles. So that could be RVs, that could be campers, that could be boats and trailers. They can be on your driveway, not in your lawn, but on your driveway for 3 days in a 7-day consecutive period. There are exceptions at times when you're loading and unloading. It may take you longer. I mean, if my boat was in the backyard as far as a canal, to go away for 2 weeks, it would take me 2 weeks to load the boat before we'd go. But some people may have it in their driveway, so that would cause them to be able to have more time. They would let us know. Bona fide repair on your vessel or your RV. You're waiting on a part. Maybe you can't move your trailer because something is in need of repair and it can't be moved. So communications is very important. So that way, if somebody does call because they're complaining their neighbor does have their boat and trailer there or their RV longer, we're able to tell them, yes, we're aware of that, but the reasoning behind it is because. So we work with people, but there is an ordinance that requires you to have a location or to put it in the garage.
In the garage.
Yes,
All
or
right.
a storage unit.
Okay, because most people can't get anything else in their garage.
Yes.
I'm working on that. I feel attacked.
Oh, I know. It's like, oh, yeah, we get it cleaned. We're all happy. And next thing you know, what happened? It's all filled up again.
Yeah.
It's like crazy how that works. I was going to ask you also about, filing the complaint. If and probably the best thing is if you feel that bad, go talk to your neighbor first, and say, look, man, this really looks like crap. Can you do something about it before all of a sudden they get a notice from the city and your name is on it that you filed a complaint against them? I'd be like, well, screw you. And next thing you know, you've got discourse in the neighborhood.
Right. And I think it hasn't really slowed down the amount of complaints. I thought it might.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah,
you mean anonymity is now out the window, and that hasn't slowed down the complaints, so people aren't too afraid.
Absolutely. No, they're really not. I thought there would be a less amount. But
Well, they know law's on their side.
Yeah, I guess that's
They
true.
feel just.
Yes. And so, at the end of the day, we do what we have to do. I don't write the rules. I only enforce them. And if there's a complaint that is made, I'm in a situation where if I don't do anything, I'm not right. If I do something, I'm still not right. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I moved here because Palm Coast is nice. And I think a lot of people moved here for that reason. So when the niceness isn't there anymore, the attraction next door is not as nice, they are going to complain. Now, The only time you won't see on the posting that is put on the house, unless there's a no post, if there's a hostile situation, that we don't post. But state statute requires that we send it both certified and regular mail. There is no electronic here with 162 at this point. So when it's posted, it's only if they ask for a public records as to who called it in. So they may not ask. And remember, if you go on a street, we're both reactive and proactive. So if you're going to write up a violation for something, you're going to have to write the whole street, because the person is going to say, excuse me, why did you write this house and you didn't write that one? Mm-hmm. So once we're on a street, and our mission and what we're supposed to do as per previous council is to be on every street twice a month.
Barking dogs. Let's talk barking dogs here.
Yes, barking dogs are a big thing in Palm Coast, yes. That's under our animal control. Just so you know, in my department, I have 4 divisions. I have code enforcement, I have animal control, I have urban forestry, and I have business tax receipt. They're all under code enforcement, under me. Barking dogs, what we do is we get the call, we go out there, and we monitor. A nuisance of a barking dog is 20 minutes or longer. So you're kidding.
20 minutes.
Whose job is that?
Yeah, animal control.
Go with a stopwatch and time how long the dog is barking?
Yes. So we have 3 animal control officers.
Well, I have a question on this.
I advised my dog to stop barking around at 18.
You've trained him to bark to stop after. Yeah, good training, Ty. So, all right. Well, no. Okay. So he barks. So Ty's dog barks for 18 minutes, takes a break, goes in, gets a drink of water, comes back out. He's got another 18 minutes to go.
How long is the break?
Well, and then what happens is it's common sense. Now you have a nuisance, okay? And so what are we going to do? We're going to talk to the dog owner. We're going to tell them, you are causing a nuisance. You are, I don't think your dog is going to make the decibel, okay? I'm not going to go out there with a decibel machine. But again, we want to work together. So the idea is, it's just like some people. I have dogs. I have 3. They live in my house. Okay. They go outside to go to the restroom. They go out on the lanai to bark at the people in the canal when they come by with the boat. What do? I bring them in. Okay. Some people feel an animal is an animal. They leave it out all day. Some people. So the barking starts, and that brings on more issues. The barking starts. Now they're tied up around the tree. Now they have no water. So it's a domino effect. So normally barking dogs are normally dogs, there's going to be a bigger situation out there. Mm-hmm. So it's not your normal dog that's just barking. Now, some people want to say, well, the dog is in the lanai and barking. Well, some people leave their dog out on the lanai.
If a lanai counts as living space, maybe it shouldn't count as barking territory.
Well, and we try, normally it's not barking territory. But again, we try to educate people to say, think about your neighbor next door. Mm-hmm. Think about your neighbor across the street. Have
you ever had, going back to the proactive, reactive, and you call it on the whole street, have you ever had someone call on a neighbor, and then you go and examine the street, and then the caller gets cited for something?
We probably have. Yeah, I mean, if you may call for one thing and another thing might come up.
But you're looking for everything. You're not just looking for that one thing. Or like if someone calls on this plant is a little too skinny in front of that.
We don't
front of that AC unit.
We really don't. We don't. Right. I mean, Brian, you're kind of exaggerating a little bit on that one. But if you're going down the street and you have trash cans and they're overgrown conditions, yes, you're going to address the overgrown. And if the complainant was the person that had the overgrown condition that was complaining about the guy 2 doors down that had accumulations, or yes, they could be.
That's interesting, because if it's an exaggeration but it's still a code, then I think there's no such thing as an exaggeration when you're talking about whether it's in compliance with the law.
The code doesn't say a skinny plant. The code says shielded. Right, and so we would address that, yes.
Brian, go visit Barbara in her office. Okay. We got to take a break. We'll be back. Ty Miller, Palm Coast City Councilman. Also, we have Barbara Grossman. She is Palm Coast Code Compliance. We'll be right back on Free for All Friday.
We got a lot of nice girls.
Don't even think about climbing that ladder.
We got a guy that'll do it for you.
If you're going to do it right with Benjamin Moore.
We've got the professional painters and the best paint.
Benjamin Moore, corner of Old Kings and Utility Drive.
Palm Coast.
Hi, I'm Eddie Lang with Serenity Realty. We're teaming up with Ascent Homes to bring you brand new custom models, including the stunning multi-generational home, perfect for the whole family. Whether you're looking for luxury, flexibility, or a home built just for you, we can make your dream home a reality. Serenity Realty and Ascent Homes. Call me 386-221-2255.
February 9th, Super Bowl Sunday. Catch it live with all-day coverage starting at noon on WNZF Radio. Super Bowl 59, live from New Orleans, sponsored by
Daytona Nissan,
Arctic Breeze,
AK Tires,
Cash It In Jewelry and Pawn,
Computech Solutions,
Shardani Roofing, and Johnny D's Beach Bar and Grill.
Super Bowl Sunday. If you can't watch, listen on WNZF 94.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the Flagler Radio mobile app.
We're back, Free for All Friday, and it's the 31st. Is this the final day of January? Oh, my God.
There it is.
Like all the Valentine stuff is out, and everybody's all excited about the next holidays. We just go zipping right through them. Does it make you feel younger or older, Barbara, with the time flying?
It's aging me.
Well, anyway, thank you for what you do and your whole crew, and
you.
in keeping the city of high standards. Ty Miller, our Palm Coast City Councilman here, just recently elected last November for the position there. Why did you run for Palm Coast City Council?
Well, I think I have a family here, grew up here, so just wanted to participate and do things that allowed me to kind of look out for the future of the city.
Okay, so it was just kind of a call of duty, and you did have served our country.
Yes, yeah. I was in the Marine Corps during the war in Iraq, so went over there a few times. Also served as a contractor for the Army and the Marine Corps in Kuwait and Afghanistan as well.
We need more people in our community that have that in their DNA, a call for a duty to serve, whether it be in a service civic club or for the city or the community or a cause or something like that.
Participation is key. I mean, a lot of people have opinions about things, but if you participate, then you have a say in them.
Is being on city council, is it what you expected? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an opportunity to do, like I said, to participate in the process and kind of represent the voters. I knocked on almost 10,000 doors, so got a very broad perspective of what residents what's important to residents. So hopefully I can represent them well in my decision on council.
Okay.
10,000 doors. That amazes me. I mean, I've heard a lot of big
He knocked
numbers.
on mine. I can vouch for one.
Yeah. There's a lot of candidates have, used that as a main strategy, but 10,000 homes, it's like one out of every 4 homes in the whole city.
Well, I'm definitely stubborn, and I attribute that to, those are things that, I viewed as an advantage, getting out and talking to people, being able to have a face-to-face conversation. A lot of the marketing that's done for political campaigns is mailers and things like that, and it's a little, say, intrusive, a little non-personal. And so this is an opportunity to become personal relationship with each person. I viewed it as if I knocked on your door, I was going to be able to convince you that I'm the right person for the job. So I figured the more, the better. And that was an advantage that I could kind of lean into.
See, I think knocking on doors in itself, some people will vote for, whatever the thing is. But I think when you knock on the door, it qualifies the marketing. Like, oh, yeah, they see the mailer, the ad in the paper, the radio ad, and they hear it or whatever. And they go, oh, yeah, that was the guy that knocked on my door.
That's 100% true. I did get a lot of feedback in that way that, oh, I got your mailer and I was interested, but I'm really glad you knocked on my door so I could talk to you. Combination
of things is what does it. Yeah, not just one. Because normally when somebody knocks on the door, I'm like, oh, God, what is this?
Absolutely. And we try to be respectful of that. Obviously, different people have different attitudes about whether they want someone knocking on their door. So, if nobody answers quickly, I'm on to the next one.
Barking ordinance.
Yeah, the dog's barking. It's Ty Miller at the door.
That's right. I try to write a personal note or something on my leave behind, to tell them I was there, and so they know it was me and not some paid person dropping off flyers or things like that, because that does happen in some of the larger campaigns where the constituencies get up into the couple 100,000 people. The candidate doesn't have time to knock on that many doors. So I just wanted to make sure that they knew it was me. I knocked on your door, and here's my phone number. Give me a call if you want to talk.
Well, thank you for your service to our country, and also now to your service for Palmco. Let's play lightning round. You want to?
Sure.
I'm going to throw a word at you, and you just take it and run with it, okay?
Okay.
Palm Harbor Golf Course.
Palm Harbor Golf Course. So I think my key interest here is just making sure that it's fiscal responsibility here. Over the years, we've spent a lot of money on that golf course, and there's been talk that it's an amenity, and that amenities typically in the recreation department, it's a cost center. It's not a profit center. And so I kind of push back on that because we have multiple other golf courses. It's not something that only the city can provide, like trails on reserved land and things like that, boat launches. So from that aspect, I would prefer that it be more cost recovery so that, we can preserve it for long term. The other, consideration is that a lot of people that were proponents of the Palm Harbor Golf Course, the residents that came and talked, said they don't want it to go the way of the Matanzas Golf Course, right? And so from that perspective, we have two other private courses that, they compete with the city course, and with us not being at full cost recovery, we're kind of undercutting their ability to do business. So potentially we cause those two areas to go like Matanzas. And so we want to prevent that as well, because that would be wildly detrimental to the city.
Well, on the golf courses is private business, of government running a golf course. Here's Capstone that does Grand Reserve. They're great managers. That's what they do for a living. Cypress Knoll, privately owned, super nice people. They were at the city council meeting and got up, and Pine Island, Pine Lakes, rather, just perfect, well-run private industries. Question is, why can't the city have a manager that knows how to do the same thing the private industry does?
Well, it's very niche, right? So, the costs would probably be very high. So we that's an option to look at. All options are on the table for me in terms of trying to get this done the right way, so it's financially stable. But part of that is, it's government, and like you said, government doesn't do business well, right? And so that's kind of the interest for me, is trying to figure out a way that we can do it a better way than we currently are.
It used to be, Kemper Sports did run the golf course and managed everything front house, and I think the idea to take it over was to potentially save money, have staff, and do it that way. I don't know, maybe that one conclusion could be that didn't really do enough.
Tried and failed.
It didn't do enough, and now if the goal really is break even, then got to let somebody else go in and raise the prices to make it actually break even.
And there's a time, if I recall correctly, that it was run as an enterprise to where it was encapsulated in terms of the financials. So with the intent of it, not costing money and no general fund money going into it and things like that. So, conceptually, that's what I want. I'm not saying that we should create an enterprise fund or anything like that, but conceptually, I would want that to be something that is self-sustaining.
See, to me, why not say, we want to get management in there that it can make $150,000 a year, not just break even. That's like government thinking.
No, it would
break even, Well, if that's not free enterprise thinking, I'm not going to, bust my butt and have a golf course or any business just with a goal to break even.
No, understood. Yeah, that would be great. Absolutely. It's just, we want to measure everything with kind of a give and take on, if we're trying to make money, what does that do to the rates? What does that change on that bell curve of supply demand? How many rounds are being played now? Does that drop to 30,000 instead of 50,000 because we've raised the rates?
Right.
So there's a give and take there. Obviously, the goal would be to make as much money off of it as possible, so that we can fund more capital improvements within the golf course, make it a better place, things like that.
What do you think about the idea of selling the land so that in part it would be able to go back on the tax rolls with the condition that it has to stay a golf course? Is that
Doesn't a golf course get like a green tax exempt thing anyway? Golf courses don't pay much hardly in taxes.
I think, and I read an article, I'm not sure if it was yours or Pierre's, but there was a mention of what the other private courses pay in taxes. And so it's not a ton of money. I think it was somewhere in the range of $25,000 or something like that. So that's a point taken that it could contribute to the tax rolls. But again, it's probably not a huge transformational amount of money or anything like that.
All right.
As far as the sale, like I said, all options are on the table, to the point, though, that would have to come with a caveat that it's guaranteed that it would never change as a golf course.
It might be worth keeping it if that's the only amount of money that it would bring in for taxes.
Trade-off,
but
I think it could make profit with the right management and the right staff and incentives and get government out of the way and, rock and roll, make it a nicer golf course than ever. But
I agree.
Anyway. Okay, let's talk moratorium.
Moratorium. I haven't really thought about it. I know that's something that's happened at the previous council a lot. So far, we haven't had any mention of that. I know, there's multiple aspects with that. There's legal risk. There's impact to local industry. There's, what do you do with staff that, work in the permitting office and things like that. Inspections if we're not doing any new permits. So there's a lot of things to consider there. I think not having all the information, it would be difficult for me to say one way or another. I know from the resident standpoint, there's a lot of people that are unhappy with the pace of development within the city. So, always considering that and what the residents want is important to me as well.
And you agree it's a dangerous word. Moratorium is like throwing a hand grenade in the room for people looking at coming here and building and investing. And
it definitely limits the ability of us to attract investment in our community. Yes.
Dangerous word. Okay. Let's see. Throw another one at you here. City manager.
Yeah. So, we got applicants back, and the time was extended a little bit it ran through kind of the holiday break. So when looking at the applicants, and, this is nothing personal against any of the applicants, but we were hoping for kind of a higher quality or maybe more depth in that higher level quality, instead of choosing between 2 or 3 well-qualified candidates, being able to choose between 10 or a dozen. And so that's why I think consensus on the council was to ask for more time and try to collect more applicants. The trade-off with that is, do you lose some people that are currently in the pipeline because they're also interviewing at other cities and things like that? I also mentioned specifically to our consultant that I'd like to look at, when a company loses a CEO, they don't put a job posting out there. They go target specific people that are running other companies and talk to them about what it would take to bring them over. So I'd like to see some of that approach as well. I'm sure there's some, rock star people out there.
Like a headhunter.
That are up and coming, running other cities that maybe we could, lure here to Palm Coast.
Are we offering enough money we have a $400 million corporation to run, and we're offering about the same money a Walmart manager makes.
I fall on the side of that. We should pay for the quality. As you said, it's, we're talking about $500 million in terms of our operating budget. So it's a lot of responsibility, and we got to get it right, and you got to get somebody well qualified, and that takes, compensation.
How many people are out there that would be, they would be rock stars. They would, they go, yeah, I'd love to be city manager of that Palm Coast, but I ain't no Walmart manager, so I'm not even going to apply.
Right, and we haven't set a salary. Obviously, people will benchmark that off the current salary that goes on for city manager. The prior city manager and currently our acting city manager. Obviously, we'll probably adjust that in some way, and that'll have to be a give and take between all the members of the council.
Okay, Brian?
Well, we had a letter to the editor this week in the Observer kind of saying that one of the risks is not enough severance for kind of a big job like that. Mm-hmm. And I know that all those terms haven't really been set or anything, but yeah, it's interesting. It's sort of like, we're looking for somebody who, I think that with a certain salary range, you're looking for someone who wants to do a city manager job because they have a heart for municipal government,
mm-hmm.
And so they're willing to take a kind of lower salary than they could have gotten on the private market. Right. But when you look at like, well, what about all the, there's been a lot of talk of like, what about a non-traditional candidate? What about this? You could still find somebody who, again, wants to kind of like take a chance, try something new, but not necessarily see it as like a step forward in a career.
Not all about the money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But is it okay if it's sort of about the money too?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's two things, and there's been a lot of research, and these dynamics change all the time about hiring practices. And, currently because of a large portion of our population retiring, we're kind of in a situation where every industry is struggling to hire people. And then, within the city, the different departments, it's the same thing, right? Very technical people. It's a niche in a lot of ways with what they're doing. And it's hard to find people to replace those retiring. And so a lot of the things that, are associated with good hiring is compensation, but also quality of life and how it is. So, I would put forward that Palm Coast has a great quality of life, and we have things like beaches within a few minutes drive. We have amenities like golf courses and things like that. A great Parks and Rec department. Our code enforcement keeps our city looking great in the neighborhoods and things like that. So we have that, and so we just got to find that spot where the compensation kind of works with that to bring someone in.
Have you ever applied for a job, Brian, and said, well, I want to know what my severance is going to be?
Right. No. That's I feel like that's you're already planning to fail in a way.
Yeah.
I know that,
well, but in this type of job though, where that the average,
and it being political,
and you look at the past 10, 15 years of Palm Coast, like at the most, people are usually a city manager for like 5 years in one place. So,
yeah, that's true.
I think
that it's a volatile place that you're going.
Mm-hmm. I received emails, some from associations and different organizations that represent city managers and city officials, and they pointed to the same thing in terms of the severance. And we would rely heavily on the consultant to kind of advise and what the standard practice in that area is.
So one of our favorite government commentators, Dennis McDonald, got up at the city council meeting last time and said, this is a reason to go change the whole form of government, go to a strong city manager, strong mayor, or a strong mayor kind of situation where the person that we're electing is the one who's actually running the show instead of, only hiring the person who's running the show.
I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Why is that? I mean, there's a lot of places that have it like that, but
because who we have to elect for our council and things like that are not qualified at all to run a city. I mean, that's why you need to bring a professional corporate type person in. And also that person is less likely to be influenced by the underlings in the community and power grabs and polarizations and things like that. That's why you need a strong city manager that tells the mayor, this is what we should be doing.
And I think also, just as a devil's advocate here, I want a strong mayor because they agree with me. What happens when that changes?
Indeed.
When someone else is voted in,
chaos,
that believes the exact opposite of what you believe. That sounds like a good idea when everything's going the way you want it to go. Doesn't sound like a good idea when, maybe those policies are the exact opposite of what you want.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we got to take a break. We'll be back. Our guest in the studio this morning on Free for All Friday, Ty Miller. We're talking with. He is our Palm Coast City Councilman. And also Barbara Grossman, who educated us onto all the ordinances and things and why it's a great place to live in Palm Coast, a community of high standards. We'll be right back.
I hear people say our best days are gone.
Hi folks, Bill Gallagher with SolarFit here. Have you ever thought about utilizing solar power for your home or business? Well, there's never been a better time to plug into the sun and stop renting electricity. How would you like to let your roof start paying you each month? Give us a call at 445-7606. That's 445-7606, or visit us at solarfit.com and set yourself free.
SolarFit your life and set yourself free with the sun's free energy.
Ready to shake up that boring advertising you've been throwing money at? Tired of wondering if your messages are lost in the digital abyss? Make your advertising come alive with the power of sound, the power of radio. Call Flagler Broadcasting Director of Sales Kurt Keller.
That's me.
And start talking to 150,000 people from Daytona to St. Augustine. FlaglerBroadcasting.com.
At Dignity Memorial Providers, Craig Flagler Palms Funeral Home and Flagler Memorial Gardens deliver compassionate care, personalized service, and exceptional customer satisfaction. There are options for everyone and discounts for pre-planning. They're always happy to show you their facility. Learn more at DignityMemorial.com.
Yeah, DignityMemorial.com. Craig Flagler Palms. Great community partners. Been here a long time, and appreciate all those guys and supporting the community. Brian, can you do some research for me?
Of course.
I went to we met at Elizabeth Ann Seton yesterday because we're going to do our $1 Million Foodathon. We're going to launch that again on March 8th. We're going to do our food truck palooza there, and I was amazed at what this church does. They have their own food bank, and they pay out money to help people that are like roll into town with kids in the car and no place to stay. I mean, my gosh, I was just really overwhelmed with how beautiful these people are and how caring they are, and they do things for, doesn't matter if you're a member of the church or not. And I was like, this must be, they're telling me some numbers, which I won't share, but it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month they give back to the community to help people. And then that's just one. And then you add up like Parkview, you add up. What would be the total amount of giving that the community gives out of their hearts with churches and charity? You got the Rotary clubs, you got, the Kiwanis, you have like business clubs and things that contribute to things. What would that total number be a month that Flagler County residents, out of the kindness of their heart, pony up every month to help their fellow man?
I do not have that number,
Barbara,
but I wish I did.
Barbara, can we task you to get that figured out? I mean, wouldn't that be a great number to have? Mm-hmm. Like, is it like $1 million a month? That is, and this is not government, giving any handouts or anything. This is just the local residents of Palm Coast from the kindness of their hearts. So I think that's a impressive thing. I was just blown away. Anyway, so Elizabeth Ann C. On March 8th, Saturday, we're going to do our food truck palooza there. 40 food trucks, pony rides, bounce houses, live entertainment and everything on the church grounds, and everybody come in, have a good time, and and it helps the Grace Community Food and also the church programs where they do help out people with money for rent and paying an electric bill if they're in a bind or whatever. And also Flagler Cares is another one that does great things. So anyway, we're out of time. Sorry, I just took all the last minute from you there, Ty.
All good.
But I want you to get the final minute here and give us some words of wisdom for Palm Coast. What lies ahead? What is exciting for you, and what scares you?
I think, there's a lot of tough decisions coming up here. We've got utility issues that we need to get squared away, infrastructure issues with both stormwater, wastewater, as well as roads. So a lot of tough decisions will have to be made. I hope that the residents will bear with the council when we go through those decisions. They're probably not going to be popular because things have to be funded in order to get those done. But recognize that we also live here and we pay those same fees and taxes. So that's one thing. You have kind of a balance between, as we mentioned before, smart development that adds to our city in a positive way versus overdevelopment. And the residents are often very loud and heard about those issues. So that's another thing that will be, an ongoing issue for the next foreseeable future. We have the opportunity here with the US 1 corridor and some of the westward expansion stuff to change our tax base. That's another issue in terms of funding. We rely heavily on residential property taxes to fund our general fund, and not much from commercial and industrial. And so working hard to try to add that so that those businesses can be successful, but also shoulder some of that tax burden.
Okay, very good. Barbara Grossman, what's final words from you?
Let's just stay where we're at. Let's go. There's new and upcoming things. Like I said, I'm here to whatever your pleasure is with the city council. That's what I do.
All right. Well, you're good. Thank you for what you do as long as you've done it.
Yes.
And, anyway, Brian, final words from you.
Yeah, just thanks to Ty Miller and Barbara Grossman, both of you. I mean, you guys are serving our community, and that's. I hope that everybody is trying to help build our neighborhoods in our community. One thing I wanted to point out in the Palm Coast Observer this week is that we have a Flagler County Fair preview, which is pretty early. It's a couple months before the fair, which is in April, but there's dozens and dozens of youth in our community who have spent months raising animals, raising money to, pay for their own college coming up, and just like so much hard work and effort. And so we have a preview section. It's section C in the paper this week. There's ways that you can support those kids to help them raise money. So I hope that you can take a look at that and root on for cheer these kids on for doing all this hard work. So
okay, all right, very good. Check it out on your driveway or online, palmcoastobserver.com.
Thank you.
Ty, one more lightning round for you. Ready? Philadelphia or Kansas City?
Oh man, I really don't have a dog in that fight. I would go NFC because I'm a Bucs fan. So, but I recognize that Philly is also kind of a rival of Tampa Bay as well. So,
go Birds.
All right, there you go. There's a decisive one. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Be kind.